very recently, we've had concerns being raised about, well, if it's savings and loans companies or microfinance institutions and how they're regulated, and then also how they tend to interact with their customer base, and how, in some instances, there are monies that are deposited or perhaps they're using various transactions within the various entities are not managed adequately. And you may have been very much familiar with issues of DKM before. We had Piram, we had other Ponzi schemes that have been put together by very intelligent people, actually, and all to rid the ordinary man of his own earnings. Well, we're here to do a lot more education because a continuous process of education also enhances our ability to be able to decode or decipher whatever information there is as far as the microfinance or savings and loans sector is concerned. And gracefully, we have in the studio Isaac Kwekwata. He is a board and advocacy member for the Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Companies, and also an advocacy member who is currently also the executive secretary for the same association is here, and Eunice Brakumafo. Thanks for joining me, Eunice, and also Isaac.
Thank you.
More importantly, I was just speaking to the association, is it cooperatives as well as the various companies also operating microfinance institutions recently, two of them who have come intermittently following all these that have come up. And the first question I pose to them is, for all the things that are happening, why is it that we're getting all this? Is it because people are not aware? Generally, is that a concern?
Yeah. Good morning, Roland, and good morning to cherished viewers. The issue here has to do with the public awareness as far as the difference of the various financial service providers are concerned. If you pick the banks, it's clear and it makes it easy for people to understand and appreciate what banks do. But if you look at that of the other financial service sectors, it is quite confusing, as to what the various other financial service providers are actually into. So what we have done on our part at the association level is to conduct research to really find out what is causing the confusion, as far as the various services we provided, are concerned. And we realized that if you pick the various consumers out there, the consumer knows the particular institution he or she may be dealing with, but as to whether the difference between the various financial service providers is clear to the consumer is actually the challenge. So the essence of this is actually to educate consumers to really understand and appreciate what these differences are. So that is what we'll be doing this morning.
Now, basically, you go to the Bank of Ghana, you read the regulations.
Yeah.
We know that in the sector we have bank and non-bank institutions, etc. These categories, what do they mean? I mean, when you have to, let's say, educate customers out there or the Ghanaian public.
Okay, I think some background may do. In 2000, in fact, if I should go back to 1990s, that's where the savings and loans companies actually came up. But you realize that in 2000, coming over to 2010, were some microfinance institutions where they came in. But then those companies were not regulated. I'm talking about the microfinance companies. They were not regulated. But the savings and loans companies who are now in the non-banking financial institution sector, they are all regulated before they even open to the public. So because these microfinance companies were not regulated, there was an issue of a guideline procedure from Bank of Ghana to help us identify between these two companies, microfinance companies and other microfinance providers, including savings and loans companies. But then because of the issue, it bulks all of us into one article. So it makes it difficult for the client to know who we are, that is savings and loans companies are, and who the microfinance companies are. And to do that, we are able to provide them with something like the capital requirements. If you give them the capital requirement, the savings and loans companies have to provide 15 million Ghana cedis before they are able to operate and open to the public. But then when it comes to the microfinance companies, theirs is 500. Now it's been increased to 2 million, but that was just about a month or two ago. Because of these issues that came up, the Bank of Ghana decided to raise the bar for the microfinance companies to reduce the entry into the system so that there is some sanity into the system. So this is why we are here. We also provide different products. Yes.
We'll come into a subject of the products, etc. But so from all that she's saying, we have savings and loans company, we have microfinance companies. But so what's the difference? Don't they all fall under the non-bank financial institutions?
Good. We all fall under non-bank financial institutions. If you look at in 2011, there was an operative guideline issued by the Bank of Ghana, which sought to classify the non-bank financial institutions into tier system. So we had tier 1 through to tier 4. And the savings and loans and the finance houses find themselves in the tier 1. The tier 1 category is the top notch in the tiering system for the non-bank financial institutions. Then when you go down, which is the tier 2, you find the microfinance institutions and the financial NGOs who are deposit taking. Then you go to tier 3 and up to tier 4. So this tier system actually categorizes the non-bank financial institution. And unfortunately, it is because of this, not necessarily because of, but the point is that because of that classification and the guidelines, so there seems to be that confusion out there that all non-bank financial institutions are microfinance. But the act is very clear. It's a notice number 2011, the number is 04. So if you look at the Bank of Ghana, that notice, which provides the guidelines for this the non-bank financial institution, it is clear as to what the various non-bank financial institutions are supposed to do, what they can do, and what they cannot actually do. Yeah.
Now, for all the things that are currently we're recording, your association, what do you do? Who are you, and what role do you play in all this?
Okay, so GASALC is Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Companies. We're registered with the Registrar General in 2008 as limited by guarantee, so it's not profit making. And we are made up of 24 members currently out of at large 27 savings and loans companies out there. So you realize that we have just about 3 of them that are not part of us currently. But we do a lot of things like advocacy. We support our members in terms of liaising with Bank of Ghana and ensuring that the things that relate to them are always taken into consideration. So we actually do things on behalf of our members, and together we become stronger. So that's the reason why we are even here. And out of that, we've been able to, come in with the research, and we are able to identify why these things are going on. So it's good to be in the association so that together we are able to speak out for what we want. Yes.
Well, why do we have all these going on? In which, if you read adequately, what has been perpetuated in the West, known to be Ponzi schemes, in which they use as if capital from elsewhere to run some other frontals. They post poor good records or poor good results, but whilst in the books physically, they are not that strong monetarily. Why do we have all these going on, per what you have learned from your studies out there?
Yeah, the issue is that, and here, this is where regulation actually is key, when it comes to this process. When you look at the role Bank of Ghana plays, is one of an on-site and off-site supervision. The supervision is actually in 2 folds. It's on-site and off-site. And
if you say on-site and off-site,
yes, exactly. That's what I'm going to come to. Now, when you talk about on-site supervision, that is where Bank of Ghana physically comes to your premise. And then annually, yearly, they go through your books, financials, to see how the company is performing and how things are actually going on as far as your status is concerned, and will be able to provide you with guidelines as to what you need to do, how you need to. So at the end of the day, you actually rate it as to how you are performing. Then there is the off-site, where we are required, when I say we, I mean the financial service sectors, are required to file returns, with the Bank of Ghana. So when the returns are filed, Bank of Ghana would have to take a look at the returns that you have filed and then be able to provide you with information as to how you are faring. So I believe strongly that if that feedback system, comes back to customers, then the monitoring system becomes very efficient, and everybody is able to know that, hey, I should be on my toes because there is an external person out there who is actually watching, my steps. Bank of Ghana has served a notice that is going to resource its officers in the regions, to ensure that they intensify the supervision process, which I think is going to go a very long way to help they sanitize the system.
But I also can add to that it's good, and we also anticipate that Bank of Ghana can work with the associations to help touch base with the clients.
Okay.
Yes, because that is what we are missing. If you go to other countries, there is that relationship there. So it's easier for the savings and loans companies association or the other related Apex associations to know, because they relate to their clients. And
do you have an example of some of the other related associations? Let's say if it's for the microfinance institutions, etc.
Yeah. If you should,
you have others.
Yes, we have.
We have
the GAMC, Ghana Microfinance, associations
network.
Yes, the network is a network of all all the service providers in the industry.
How do you collaborate effectively to make sure that at the end of the day, the overall objective of making sure the customer is aware, and also the needed regulation is achieved?
Yes, the collaboration. This is part of the process, and it's a sensitization programs that we are actually embarking upon. Next week, we're going to have a stakeholders meeting where we'll have all the players in the industry sit at round table, to discuss, these pertinent issues that affect our cause. There are quite a number of associations within the non-bank financial sector, and we fall under the umbrella of GAMFIN. So this is part of processes, to bring the awareness, to create that awareness for the customer to really appreciate that if I need this service, I have to go right to this company and I'll be able to get, those services. I'm sure we'll pretty much soon come into what the difference really are, so we could educate.
Yeah, because I know that, for example, in the community I grew up in Ashama is a largely congested community, and it's a micro trading sectorial area. So you have a lot more dealings with cash, very much non-bank people, non-saving people, etc. So they tend to deal with susu collectors and these microfinance institutions, etc. Savings and loans also can easily, who don't need strict regulations or requirements to process loans or credit and things like that. Those type of people, how would you go to the communities after you've undertaken all your consultative things that you're telling me currently, which is very much bourgeois in my estimation, to get to those people also to be very much aware?
Okay, so we'd have to get them to understand that the service, the service that we provide, we actually have to try to to help them to know that we do provide some particular services in terms of in terms of the microfinance companies. They do target the lower side of the economy. Of the of the clients,
the micro
market,
level of
the micro level. But the savings and loans companies do target those people and more. In terms of the middle and the the peri-urban areas, we target them.
So those are the people you represent?
Yes, we represent. So we can cover the microfinance level, in terms of clients that they cover, and do more. So sometimes that it's very difficult for them to know in that instance. Maybe you can
exactly. To add to what Eunice has said, the sensitization program is actually taking place at the various banking halls of the Savings and Loans Association, and we are encouraging our members, the 24 members, that they should let even the staff who work there understand the differences that there are as far as these various institutions are concerned. And then we are going to hold various interaction, SME fairs, and various customer education programs where, we have staff who go out for mobilization. And as Eunice mentioned, you see, the confusion sometimes arises based on the services provided by the various institutions.
Because they're very much related.
Exactly, they're very much related. But the difference here is this. If you pick a microfinance company, microfinance, just like Eunice indicated, provide the micro services. So we're looking at micro savings, loans, and investment. But quite apart from that, the savings and loans are able to take care of the SME customers, and then even some microfinance companies are also customers of savings and loans. Again, savings and loan company offers what we call the checking account system, which is the current account system, which is not offered by the microfinance companies. And also, you realize that savings and loans are permitted by Bank of Ghana to do electronic services. So talk of remittance, services, Western Union, MoneyGram, Vigo, Samba, all these services can be offered by a savings and loan, but a microfinance company cannot do that. Savings and loans can run and deploy ATMs, at their premises. Microfinance companies cannot, do that. Again, if you look at the act that establishes, savings and loans and that of microfinance, savings and loans are required to have the name savings and loans by their name. But if you pick a microfinance company, they are also required to have the word microfinance. So it is important that customers should look out for some of these differences to be able to appreciate that there is indeed difference between...
In relating with the customer, and also the customer also relating back is the subject of empathy.
Yes.
So how do you make sure you get your individual members to be very much involved in the process of the education?
In fact, that really came up in the research. And
because if we have to leave everything to you, the association, it means nothing gets done.
Yes.
Because you may not have necessarily the resources,
exactly.
the span.
Exactly. And it is a responsibility of the members and Bank of Ghana as well, because that is what came up in the research, that members do not engulf these things in educating their clients. So some of them do, but it doesn't mean all of them. So we are going to be very strict on that, so that every member would use is as part of the processes of getting people to know them, so that even when they take their clients, they know what the savings and loans companies are from the microfinance companies. And we'd also encourage Bank of Ghana to do the same, so that people know what the difference is, so that it doesn't stifle the funds that come in to develop the country. Because if there's this, confusion in the system, clients will not participate with each of these companies because there's no clarity. They'll be confused, so they'll just keep their monies to themselves. So we are encouraging the Bank of Ghana to also step up with these things, so that we'll be able to do everything together and establish the country as a whole.
Well, yes, so to quickly add to what she said, it boils down to education. And we are entreating our members to take it upon themselves to really educate the customer. The service we provide is we are not just interested in the monies of the customers, but really to better the lives, of people. And they could really better that, enrich that, if they really appreciate the services they are going in for and receive the kind of customer service that they dream to have. So we are really sensitizing our members that they need to take up the education. And Roland, let me say this. We have about 24 savings and loans, companies with over 404.
I thought you said 27.
There are 27, but there are 24 members of the association. So 24 members of the association. These 24 members has over 404 branches, scattered nationwide. So you can imagine, when I'm employing over 13,000, Ghanaians. So this people, if we all put our hands on the wheels and we begin to educate, to sensitize, trust me, I believe it will go a long way to get people to really appreciate what savings and loans do and what they are here, for.
Well, Eunice, how long these very education programs you're running going to take? Is it a span of a year, or is it a continuous process?
We are hoping it to be a continuous process. We've been very relaxed in that, but then with the research coming up, we realize that we have to do intensive education, and it should be over a long period of time.
Because it means you only have to be solely reliant. On your members.
Yes, on the
while we know that at the same time the Bank of Ghana is supposed to have some responsibility and the Ministry of Finance.
Yes, it's not easy. It's not going to be easy, but the members are very forthcoming. We have decided to this year contribute towards this project. So we're going to do it this year, and then next year, hopefully. So we think that by that time there will be enough education, and if we need to go to, we will. But then, it's all about sustainability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll see how that goes. So we have to end our conversation, but if
Yeah.
you have anything else you want to add, Isaac, I think that would be great.
Yes, Roland. So as we have said, we entreat customers that they should, when they go out there, they should look out for some of these issues we've talked about. You know, it's not difficult at all. Talk about your client relations officer, the kind of service you are looking for, and then once that is interpreted to you, because the service is actually supposed to be interpreted to you in a language you do understand. So the idea is that when you go there, ask questions. You know, don't just go in for the service. Ask questions. Ensure that you understand what you are buying. Then you'll be able to go in for exactly what you intended, you know, to go buy. So we pray that this is going to go a long way, and this is one of many that is going to come to create that awareness until the last person appreciates what these differences are.
Oh, great. That'll be it for the morning. And thanks for joining me, Eunice and Isaac. And we've had in the studio Isaac Kweku Arthur, who is a board and advocacy member for the Ghana Association of Savings and Loans, and the executive director, who is also an advocacy member as well, also here in the studio for the Ghana Association of Savings and Loans, Eunice Brako Marfo. And thanks for joining me, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're taking a break. When we come back, we're going to have our guests in the studio. And Obi Amwa is a member of parliament for Kapim South, and he will be joined by the Minister for Roads, who is also the member of parliament for Tamale Central, Inusa Abdullahi Husseini, all in the studio. So we'll have great discussion segment coming up on AM Talk. Do stay on.